Remember how last time we were getting into doozies of a dating story? I mean, that's what we called it. And I remember you mentioning to me of how, oh yeah, pre-Tyson, pre-marriage days, you've had the stories.
Because I feel like we've all had bad dates.
But we've heard on this podcast so much of Marie's dating stories. I am so curious.
I'm so curious about your bad ones.
But I'm so curious about yours, you know, of like, oh, what happened?
Well, I think the last episode, I was like, oh, remind me, I'll tell you about like the bad
you were like, oh,
date.
Chevys.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's very specific.
And it might not be that bad to people. It wasn't like a nightmare date. It was just, he was just a dick. And so we went to Chevy's for this date. I think I was like 18 or 19 at the time. It was this guy I met in junior college, freaking De Anza.
Again,
all these people at De Anza.
Junior college De Anza.
Yeah.
That's where you find them.
And so we went to Chili's, and he had this air about him that, like, women love him, right?
Did you fall for
He was
that
Italian.
air?
No. I was like, he's cute. He's okay, you know, but I'm hungry. And it was at Chevy's. And
I'm hungry.
so we were talking, and the first thing that happened was like, I ordered like a combo platter or whatever, and he ordered like a taco, and when the waiter came, the waiter gave him my food and gave him my taco, and I was like, oh no, that's
so classic.
That's mine. And I was like, you're not that hungry? He's like, oh, I'm nervous. And I'm like,
oh, he said that straight. Did he actually say that in a nervous way where you believed him?
Let me think. Let me try to. I don't know. It felt like more like a show, or maybe he was nervous. I don't know. But if he was like this confident guy,
that's what I'm saying. I was like, that's
yeah. And like I know what it's like to like not want to eat in front of people. Like when I was like in 7th grade, like being embarrassed of like eating a sandwich in front of the guy that I had a crush on. But this, like, as I got older, I was like, no, I love to eat. Give me the combo platter.
I want to try all the things.
So the waiter got our things mixed, and I just remember, it's just the air he had about him. But, you know, he was just talking about himself, and, like, I was just... I don't know if it was like... Did you have that face going on? Even you thinking about it. I was like, wait, was that the face that you gave him? Yeah, and I don't know if it... I wouldn't even say it was like mansplaining, but it was just like, you know, him talking about himself.
The worst.
And stuff like that. And I'm just like enjoying my food, and I'm like, okay, like not like giving him anything. Like, oh my God, wow. Like,
not feeding into...
Not feeding into anything. And then he just like stopped talking. And he paused for a moment, and he was like, do you know how many girls would want to be in your position right now?
You didn't even finish the phrase. Just the way you start, I was all like, oh no, he's not going there. He is not going to go there.
He went all the way there.
Wow. What do you do in that scenario?
Oh, God, I tried to remember, like, because he was like, okay, do you know how many girls would... And I was just like, I think I was just like, no, how many? And like from there, like he was just like not feeling it at all. Like,
he was like, oh, this girl's different because she really isn't feeding into my ego.
No, like, and so that I was like, okay, well that was
gross.
Isn't that gross? Yeah, like who says
you know,
that?
part of me when you said that he paused and looked at you, I was hoping that he was gonna say something like sexy of like he was so present. He was present to something, but not to what I was hoping. Girl, this is a bad date, not a good date. That's why I was like, oh, is she gonna flip the script here or something?
No.
Have we not got to the bad part yet?
No.
Oh no! Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So that was how that date happened, and then I've been like, this is like a funny one. So my friend at the time, I think we were like in high school, she always dated like the dumbest dudes. And
there's always that friend.
Yeah. And so she dated this guy, and he had a brother. And she wanted me to date his, like, brother. Because, oh my God, how cute. Like,
Did
two
you
friends
think he was
dating
cute?
No. No, he just wasn't my type.
Okay.
And so, but I remember, like, talking to his brother, like, at a party or whatever, and, like, we were having a conversation, and he would say things, and I would kind of, like, rebut it and, like, challenge him on things or whatever. And she told me later that he was like, yeah, I feel like I can't really talk to her because she, like, knows what she's talking about. I was like...
that she knows what she's talking about. So he wants somebody who doesn't know what
Who
she's
just
talking
goes
about.
with what he says.
Ew.
That's what I mean by, like,
Like how some guys want a dumb girl.
I don't even... It's
He literally said, I want
I
somebody
don't
who
even
doesn't
know
what
if
she's
he's
talking
like
about.
that self-aware to realize that that's what he wants, or if it's he's just like, I've never like had
that
like
kind of girl.
I'm
talk
not
to me.
attracted to women who challenge me or like who have an opinion. I have no idea.
That's two things of like that makes me sad that he hasn't encountered enough. Are there not enough women out there, or is he just purposely seeking a type of woman, and you just happen to be one of like a one-off where this is a different kind of girl?
I have no idea, and I'm not saying like I'm like better than any of the women
Sure.
he dated. I'm just saying like that was on him. Like who says that and not even realizes what you're saying? So like, don't ever let her set you up with anyone. But what about you, Marie?
Oh gosh, Stacie, where do I begin?
I don't know,
with
because
my
you've been on this, like, we've been following your 1 year journey of getting back into dating, but
Yeah, so I
this year or even like before, like
should we go chronological?
Yeah.
Because last episode, we continued the story of that first date. And then we didn't even get to the second crazy date, which I think is still by far the top crazy date of what happened. Because
which one is this?
the one at the bar where
Oh my god, okay, yes.
I was like, you probably said the key word before, the buzzer word.
Oh my god, and then that reminded me of something I had experienced. Okay, it wasn't a date, it was an experience. Okay, go.
It's probably because of the type of guy, right? Yeah. See? Okay. So, this guy made it to 2 dates. So, I was already kind of iffy giving him that chance, but you know what? I hadn't gone on a second date with a dating app potential in a while. So I was like, you know what? Let's just give this guy a chance. Why not?
Yeah.
So I had given blood earlier that day, donated, so I couldn't drink at all when I met him up at the bar. So I'm sober throughout.
And this is in your
entire
past
time.
year of dating.
This is in the past year. This is probably like, maybe 9 months ago ish. And so, the date started off kind of okay, but then eventually he was like, okay, I want to take you to the billiards. Let's go back to that other bar we went to our first date. And I was like, great, sure. We wait for our turn to play pool, and these 3 lovely young 20-something-year-old women were kind enough to give us like, hey, we were gonna play so-and-so, but fell through. You can play us. I was like, thank you. So early on in the game, it's my date and I versus these 3 girls. My date starts mansplaining to them of like, you're supposed to call your shot before it, which is fair, that is true, but he proceeded to mansplain other things after that, and then these girls would just, they were not happy about that, and I don't blame them, and at some point they came to me and were all like, I don't know, girl. I don't know. Red flag. And then I don't know what happened or what was said, because there was one girl who was like just pointing her finger, and I don't know what was going on between of them. And my date goes straight into the bathroom without even telling me anything. And he's in there for at least 10 minutes. I'm like, what's going on? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm stuck here with these girls, and they continue to like, really?
They're like a better date than him.
I know, and I was like,
you have more chemistry with the women.
So much chemistry with the women.
Yeah.
They were so sweet to me because they could have been. They could have taken it the other way of like,
ew,
what
like,
are you guys
you're
doing?
with him.
Yeah, exactly. But they were so nice and gracious,
Yeah.
and they were even cheering for me while I was like playing. And so he eventually comes out. And he has this sourpuss on, and he's just drinking his drink in the corner. And I'm like, oh, it's your turn. And he's like, no, I don't want to play. With a straight face. I was like, you don't want to play? He's like, no, they're not playing the right way.
Oh, God, it's at a bar. It's not a competition. There's no referee.
And these girls know that they're not, and they literally said, we're here to play to have fun.
Yeah.
We're not trying
And did
to
they
like
let
compete.
you guys play?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
and that's
yeah.
why, because she was all like telling him, we are doing you a favor and letting you play with us.
Yeah.
And this is how we're playing. Like, chill.
But I guess he was like, well, if that's how you're going to play, I'm not playing.
That's exactly what he was doing. And just being in the corner with my
On a date with someone. On a date, like.
So that's why I was like, number one, I was like, this is awkward.
Can you imagine being in a relationship with someone like that who like can't just like let go and be like, okay, it's fine.
I was like, stop.
Like, I just want to spend time with you.
I was just, do you want to go? I even gave that as
You're
an
so
offer.
sweet.
And we could have gone and he could have at least saved some face, but no, he was like, no, I'm fine, you play. And
Oh my
he
God, what a
continued to
baby.
mansplain from the corner of like, she didn't call her shot, or blah, blah, blah.
Stop! How embarrassing!
Or like, oh, you don't have to call your shot, Marie. They're not doing it. I know her.
Stop!
Yeah,
Oh
and
my!
I was
I would
like-
be so mortified. I'd be like, you need to like, this is ridiculous.
I
Like, how
know.
old are you? Like, ruining everyone's fun.
That's that. And then eventually he simmered down because a gentleman who I would describe physically looking, typecast hippie-ish with, long hair, tie-dyed shirt, glasses. He starts talking. The stranger starts talking with my date in the corner. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'm playing with girls.
Please keep him quiet.
occupied, whatever. And then all of a sudden, I hear a glass break on the floor. Turn over. Okay, that's weird. I see one of the bar backs sweeping it and stuff, and I'm like, okay, all right. Maybe a minute or two later, you hear another crash of glass, and I see my date holding his face, backing up, and then eventually fall to the ground. And I think he's kind of quasi screaming at this point.
Oh my God.
And the whole bar turns. The lights go on. You see hippie guy. He's already on his way halfway out the door on the other side of the bar. He looks and then jets out. And you hear the bartender guy, go get him. He's run that way. And then my date's on the floor, just holding his face.
What happened? Did you see what happened, or you just saw the aftermath?
I just saw the aftermath. So all of us just go run there, and apparently my date is a regular at that bar. So the bartender knows him, the manager knows him. So they're all there, attending to him. The manager, she's lovely. She's holding onto a towel already there, and just kind of checking what happened. And he's like, the guy slammed his glass into my face. He claimed that I spilled his drink, but I didn't. And he was just saying that I need to go buy him a drink because I dropped it. And he's like, no, I'm not going to buy you a drink. And that's when the hippie guy slammed the glass into his
How
face.
hard do you have to hit someone to break a glass against their skin?
No, that's we've done it in acting classes with the fake glass. So
That's fragile.
Right? I can only imagine and those
Because bar glasses are thick.
They're thick. I bartended with those. Those are thick.
So was he okay?
He had a big cut gash near his eye.
Oh
it
my
was
God.
pretty big because they had to put pressure. At one point, the bartender's like, can you, and she whispered, I'm like, he's probably gonna like it more that you're like playing your stand, and I'm like, oh, this is the moment. It's
You're
just really
girl,
about,
like it's past that.
yeah.
Like we're not even.
It's just I'm just more concerned about this human being's health. So ambulance came, and he has to like retell the story, and this is where it got even worse. He's like, no, don't call the ambulance. It's no, I don't want to go to the hospital. And like the paramedics are trying to work on with him. It's like, can you just like give me one of those like bandages? Like, I just don't want to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get an ambulance. I don't have insurance. I'm like, oh, poor guy. Oh, that sucks.
We've talked about insurance on this podcast before, and it's just a nightmare that like you deny help for a severe medical issue because you don't have insurance.
I know. And so just give me one of those bandages. And the paramedics were so sweet. They were like, okay, yeah, we can do that for you. After the paramedics eventually leave, the cops come.
Oh my God.
And so he's finally standing.
And you're staying with him this whole time.
I'm with him. I'm trying to be
so
a decent
sweet.
person.
Yeah.
And I think by this point, his story is kind of changing a little bit. I mean, the main thing is there, but I had to clarify some things, even about the girls, because he started trying to throw the girls up in the mix of throwing them in front of the train.
Why is he so concerned with these poor girls?
Because he was associating the girls with that hippie guy. And I was like, no. I was like, no. They don't know each other. He was a stranger, and he was just some random person who came. Let me clarify just what happened, because he was just mixing up so many things.
Yeah.
And then he had a friend, and the bartender friend, we were all like, what are you going to do, Marie? Are you going to, like, just be with him and, like, take care of him? And I was like, whatever you need, but I mean, I'm gonna go home at some point tonight. I have something to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get out of the situation.
Absolutely.
And so, thankfully, his friend was going to escort him back to his studio apartment, which was across the way. Thankfully, it was like right there. So I was like, I'll go that far, make sure both of you get there safe. And so get to his place, and it gets even more awkward and worse there because I'm there, and
You're so sweet. Let me just say, for going through this whole process with him, even though he was so freaking weird at the bar. Like, that was so nice.
I think it's that like that instinct of like when someone's in danger and hurting, like you forget all the other stuff that had just happened. Especially
but
when
like, how long was that amount of time that you spent with him, with like the paramedics and the police, and then going to his house?
Probably 2 hours ish, at least, maybe give or take. And then in the apartment. Yeah, I think he's just trying to, simmer down and make light of it with his friend there too. And at one point he goes, Marie, so I guess we're not having sex tonight, are we?
Ew!
He yelled that in the bathroom. Thankfully, he didn't say it to my face. Like, he was like yelling it as he was like cleaning off the glass out of him.
What an
but
idiot.
Outside that bathroom door, his friend and I make eye contact right then and there of just like shaking our heads. And I'm just like, I literally say, there's just too many things wrong with that sentence.
Even his friend was like, oh my God,
I know,
man,
he
what
looked mortified.
Are you doing?
He looked mortified.
Like, who would say that?
And
like, not like, thank you so much for like staying with me and, making sure I got home okay.
Right. The date was just like, you guys know I'm kidding. You know I'm kidding.
You're like, sir, not after how you acted. The whole night.
Very shortly after, I excused myself.
Did he contact you after that
He
night?
did. I was very careful with how I left. I didn't say, I'll see you again. I didn't imply anything. I said, I hope you feel better.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't even the end of the night, girl. I parked because we had walked from one bar to the other.
Yeah.
It took me an hour for me to find where I had parked.
By yourself?
By myself.
That's so scary.
And I was just praying to God, looking up at the stars.
Marie.
Where did I park? Please help me.
How
be
far were the
safe.
bars from each other?
Probably a quarter mile.
Oh my God! At night?
Yeah.
In the middle of the night?
Yeah. And that's I
Were
was
there people around or?
No.
Oh my God!
It was a neighborhood because I parked in a neighborhood, so that's why I was lost because I think I had the cross street memorized, but I was like, oh, but what direction at that cross street? And I thought I was like, oh, north from there, and I was yeah. So it just took me an hour. And then the next day when he texts, he's all like, so. By the way, I'm doing well if you're wondering.
Ew!
So I was going to check in, I think, at some point, but I think he just beat me to the punch, and I think I was really busy that day. I hadn't replied in however many hours. And then he texted after that, because I didn't reply, with, really? No response after what just happened to me?
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And so I ended it with a but, and I replied and said, I'm hoping you're okay. I'm glad you replied. So it sounds like you're okay. I'm wishing you the best. Something like that.
I gave you the wishing you the best when I
Yeah.
left you, and it could have been at that.
Yeah.
Like, I'd known you for 2 dates, and you were freaking oddball.
Right.
Like, I
didn't even want to entertain it. I was
Yeah.
just like, okay, let me just end it there again. Just be civilized and, reply. But I was like,
God, and he even doubled down, like, really?
yeah.
Like, oh my God. Like,
And he
I
said that-
stayed with you for 2 hours.
It was probably a drunk text because I saw that it was just past midnight when he sent that. Really.
Sir, stop drinking.
Yeah.
Stop going to that bar.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So there's that. So that story you said ignited
Well, do you have
some
any
memory.
other date ones? Because this isn't a date story. Well, it's like more I was like going on a friend date and then her boyfriend got involved.
I want to hear that one though, because it'll probably relate somehow thematically.
Oh my God. So, I hadn't seen my friend in a long time, and she was like, let's go like get our nails done and like go to lunch, and I'm like, love it. Like, can't wait to see you. Like, to me, like, girls getting their nails done and going to lunch is like going to like a cute cafe or brunch or something.
Time.
So I meet her and she's like, oh, my boyfriend's at the recording studio in Oakland recording like a rap album. So just meet me there and we'll go from there. So I go there and she's like, oh, let's just go pick them up something to eat. And so I'm like, okay. And then she goes to like KFC. She's like, what do you want? And I'm like, what? Is this lunch?
What?
And I'm like, okay, like, I don't even remember if I ordered, if I was like, oh no, I'll just wait. I had no idea. So she ordered like all this food. We go back to this recording studio and in Oakland, and I've never met her boyfriend before.
Oh, a musician.
No, girl.
Recording.
No, girl. And so I go in there and he's like, I don't think he's in the booth yet, but like the guy who's like handling like all like, I don't know, the producer maybe was in there, and then like 2 of his friends were in there and he was in there, and like she brought all this food in and they all started eating. And I was like, oh, hi, blah, blah, blah. Like, and he could, like, care less about me.
Didn't even acknowledge your presence.
Like, he tried to not even, like, look at me.
Ew.
Yeah, so I'm just like, okay, this is weird. Like, when are we leaving? And so she just sits down, starts eating, and is, like, getting ready to watch his performance, recording. I don't know.
Did this friend even acknowledge or clock this exchange between like you're in this presence with people you don't know, and
when we talk about people who don't read people.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And so he starts like rapping like in this little notebook or whatever, and I swear to God, Maria, it was like I've never been called you Maria. Marie. Marie. I was like, it was like chicken. Like he'd see a pencil and he tried to like rhyme with a pencil, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is like the worst. Chicken. Like it was. I don't know if you've seen Malibu's Most Wanted, but it was straight like Jamie Kennedy. Like, what was that rap in there where he was like, traffic, looking for my chapstick. Oh, no. Something about there's a Ford Maverick, or it was like those kind of raps, and I was like,
no. Were you like this trying to like not laugh?
No, I'm just like, oh my God. Mind you, she had told me about him before.
What did she say?
So, he was from Danville.
Okay.
And she would tell me, like, how hot he was, like, this hot white guy. And, like, she had to, like, be careful with, like, all of, like, the rich, like, Danville women, wives, or whatever, because they always come on to him.
I'm sorry, good.
And then she tells me, like, he just got out of prison, like, a bit ago. He's on house arrest, so he has an ankle monitor for, like, he was in the military, but he was, like, selling drugs, so I think he was dishonorably discharged. I don't really know the details. But he was in prison. He got out, and he made, like, a movie about it. About how, like, the prison system, which is very much like the prison system will take non-violent criminals and put them in with violent criminals.
That's real.
And it will, you know, turn those people violent, essentially.
And that's real talk, yeah.
It is. But I watched the trailer.
Oh, no.
Girl!
What happened?
It was like so bad, and I remember like seeing like a news story in the Bay about like, oh, it's like Bay Area like guy trying to like make his film about like that's based on his life, blah blah blah. And like I think the tagline at the end, mind you, it was shot so terribly, but I think the tagline at the end was like, "Did you get your money's worth, America?" And I think the film was called... I'm like giving away too much to where like people can look this up. Yeah, I'm going to stop there. I'm going to stop there. But anyway, so that's his background. And he's like all in like Ed Hardy, like everything. Like
you paint a good picture.
I don't think he's attractive at all. I like maybe like old Danville white ladies like love him. But I'm just like... What? Like we've said, personality is so much. Cute. And so we're in there and I'm like, what is happening? Like, why are we here? And then all of a sudden we hear this like banging on the door and like screaming. And I'm like, what is happening? And the producer opens a drawer and gets a gun out.
What?
And I'm like, I've never seen a gun before. And I'm just like panicked. And he runs out or whatever, and I'm like, and she's sitting there just
calmly, like it's just another day.
Yeah, and the guy comes back and he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just a crackhead." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm not worried." And then,
another day in the life.
Yeah, and then the guy. Her boyfriend comes in and I see her like, I think she wasn't calm at that moment. I think she was focused on him because he was doing something that she didn't like, because like the energy kind of shifted. And then he comes in, sits down at the table, opens up this pill bottle, smashes it up, and then just snorts it. And I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, babe, you said you were stopping that. And she's like crying. And I'm just like, when are we going to lunch? Like, what is happening?
I'm supposed to just go to lunch and get my nails done.
And then she had been drinking.
What time is it at this point?
This is like 12, 1 p.m.
She was morning drinking.
Everyone was drinking.
Wow.
Alcohol. Then they're like fighting with each other, and I'm just like, oh my God, what is happening? And then he's like, oh my God, I have to get home because of his freaking ankle bracelet. And he's like, babe, I told you to freaking put a timer on. And she's like, she can't drive because she's been drinking, so I have to drive everyone home. So they're in my car fighting.
Daisy.
Mind you, they both sit in the back seat, and I'm in the front driving them, and they're yelling at each other.
You're like the moderator, just making sure everyone's safe.
Yeah, so like I get them home. And then it turned out later, so this day ended. I don't even remember how it ended, like after I like dropped them off. And like she didn't think anything was wrong. We never went to lunch. This is how like the day ended. So it wasn't like a date story, but it was a friend date that was turned into absolutely
what? Not even opposite. Something you never imagined would ever happen.
So they ended up breaking up because she found out that the place that she had been dropping him off all the time, where he said it was working on his music, not the recording studio and apartment, was actually a girl who he had impregnated.
So much drama. You know, as you were like saying your story, and I could hear it's like slowly wrapping up, and like when drive home. This sounds. I would love to see this as an episode. You know those like one-offs on like Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
Or that like Ted Lasso one-off.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
where you just dive deeper into the character. Yeah.
And it just takes you all to the spiral of where did that go and how did that happen in that way? Because it's so outrageous.
I know.
But it's
bizarre.
real.
Mm-hmm. So bad friend dates and romantic dates.
Is it just going to continue? We'll find out.
Yeah. Till next time.